We have, if I don't know, Luke, if you are familiar with James Van Der Beek, but he was an actor. He was most well known for, I think he played Dawson in Dawson's Creek. I've never watched an episode of Dawson's Creek. I have no idea what it was about. And up until like maybe 3 years ago, I didn't know that Dawson was a character on Dawson's Creek. I thought Dawson's Creek was just like the name of a creek, and that was it. So shows you what I know about it. But I do know James Van Der Beek from Varsity Blues. I watched that for the first time in high school, as well as some other random things. But he's a fairly well-known actor. But I remember seeing this, and I saw a bunch of Christians talking about how it was good to see what he said. And when I watched it, I was thinking the same thing at first. And then he gets to the end, and there's something he says that kind of takes all of it away. I feel like he's so close, and then gets to the end, and it's just he wasn't there. So we'll jump into this. It's only about, I think it's about 3-minute video, and there is good in this. There is some good stuff in this, but we will hash it out once we watch through. So I'm going to start playing this, and just to make sure, because we had some audio issues at the beginning, give me a thumbs up when I start playing it if you can hear it, or a thumbs down if you can't. And then I'll jump in and out. If I have to, I'll just read his statement. So.
Define myself as an actor, right? Which was never really all that fulfilling. And then I became a husband, and that was much better. And then I became a father, and that was the ultimate. I could define myself then as a loving, capable, strong, supportive husband, father, provider, steward of the land that we're so lucky to live on. And for a long time, that felt like a really good definition to the question, who am I? What am I? And then this year, I had to look my own mortality in the eye. I had to come nose to nose with death. And all of those definitions that I cared so deeply about were stripped from me. I was away for treatment, so I could no longer be a husband that was helpful to my wife. I could no longer be a father who could pick up his kids and put them to bed.
Really quickly, for context, if you don't know Luke, or if anyone watching this out of the fact does not know, he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer, but it was like, I think when he found it, it was like stage 3 or 4 pancreatic cancer. And so, I mean, it was essentially, it's essentially, they just tell you like, hey, you got a couple weeks or maybe a couple months to live, and that's it. So for context, if anyone is not aware, that's what he's talking about.
And be there for them. I could not be a provider because I wasn't working. I couldn't even be a steward of the land because at times I was too weak to prune all the trees during the window that you're supposed to prune them. And so I was faced with the question, if I am just a too skinny, weak guy alone in an apartment with cancer, what am I? And I meditated, and the answer came through.
And up to this point, I'm with it. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be good. And then he says something that I think right here, it's a slight disagreement, and then he ends with something that's like, no, that's not, no.
I am worthy of God's love simply because I exist. And if I'm worthy of God's love, shouldn't I also be worthy of my own? And the same is true for you. And as I move through this healing portal toward recovery, I wanted to share that with you because I think that revelation that came to me was due in no small part to all the prayers and the love that have been directed toward me. So I offer that to you, however it sits in your consciousness, however it resonates, run with it. And if the word God trips you up, I certainly don't know. I can't claim to know what God is or explain God. My efforts to connect to God are an ongoing process that is a constant unfolding mystery to me. But if it's a trigger, it feels too religious, you can take the word God out, and your mantra can simply be, I am worthy of love. Because you are. Thank you for the love and prayers, everyone. Have a blessed day.
So, I'll take a stab here first. Obviously, the first thing when he says that I am worthy of God's love simply because I exist. That sounds really nice. The problem is, and this is especially with Christianity, the whole foundation for Christianity is no, you're not. Like that's the point. You're not. You're not worthy of it. You don't deserve it. But it's given anyways. And then when he gets to the end, that I could say, okay, like maybe he's a Christian, but he's like followed the like a Stephen Furtick or a Mike Todd or something like that, where it's just like all like kind of positive, make you feel good, um, type of thing. I could see, okay, yeah, maybe that's where you get that from. I could see you say that, and maybe you're still good. But then he gets to the end, and he's like, you just take God out of it. No, like this isn't about just making you feel good. Like there's, and that's where I feel like, okay, no, he's getting this. I don't even know what I would say. He's got this idea in his head. It's a more of a spirituality type thing, or just a feeling religious type thing, than it actually being any type of a religion or relationship with Big G, God. What do you think?
So my thoughts are when he instantly said that we are worthy of God's love. I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. That was a kind of a big issue for me because one, I can point to scripture and say, well, we're not. Um, and I mean, if we were worthy of God's love without Jesus dying for us and rising again from the dead, like we wouldn't need that sacrifice. Um, but the thing is that I understand where he's coming from when he says like it's an ongoing ministry, like because we as human beings we are never going to come to that point in our lives to where like I know everything about the infinite being of God that created the cosmos as we know it. Like that's not going to happen. We're never going to get to that point. We're never going to stop learning, never going to stop growing in our relationship with God. But it kind of rubs me the wrong way too, though, because especially towards the end when he says, "Oh, well, you can take God out of it," that kind of makes me feel like he is trying to gain an audience, whether you're religious or whether you're not religious, or I don't want to offend anybody, or let's be positive. And that's the issue with today. Today, and I see that a lot in big or mega churches as well. It's a really big feel good speech when there is no gospel presented with gospel facts. And when you take God out of that and you replace it with feel good vibes, you're honestly really just worshiping yourself and your feelings. And the thing is like the gospel is offensive. It should offend you. Because it tells you like, hey, you're not the hero. You are not the one who is sinless. You are actually cursed because
Yo,
you have chosen to disobey. And it's just kind of one of those things where I'm seeing this a lot in our culture too, Jesse, to where I really honestly think that we have too many podcasts, too many sermons, too many pastors who are willing to base their whole theology and their whole meaning behind it. They're willing to base it all on feelings instead of what Scripture actually has to say. And that's a big problem because the Bible tells us that we really should not lean into our own feelings or really should not trust in our own hearts because it's wicked. And though that's probably not something that a lot of people want to hear, that doesn't change the gospel. That doesn't change the fact that it does say that, and it is true. And I understand where he's coming from, but for my perspective, there's a difference between spiritualism and having a true, authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. Big difference. But yeah, that's where I stand on that.
Yeah.
As soon as he said that, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
So he essentially it turns into like the whole purpose is it's just about feeling good here.
Yeah.
And so which this I find strange because he makes the comment that he starts off from a place of, I am worthy of God's love. Okay, so completely get past the point that we don't agree with that statement. He's saying, I am worthy of God's love. So he is saying he believes there's a God. Now, what is that? Obviously, I just from listening to him talk, I don't think he believes that it is the Christian God, or he may think it's the Christian God, but it's not actually the Christian God. But if he's believing that there's a God, then it would logically follow he believes there's something else beyond this. But he seems to boil it down to, well, it doesn't really matter. So I would say he's probably almost the universalist, where he thinks it is literally just everyone's going to go to heaven or the good place, or it is something about more of your actions and what you do, and that can somehow earn you a place in the good place or in what they would call heaven, or but it seems, at least to me, from the outside listening to him, it seems very contradictory that he seems to be going off of what he thinks and putting a God there, but then he's so quick to just get rid of it. So it makes me wonder, like, really, what is his thought? Is it just about trying to feel good in this moment, in this life, in the time that he had left? Was it just trying to find some way to have peace in that, to feel better while he was, I mean, it sounds morbid, but while he was waiting on the clock to run out, was he just trying to feel better in that time? Yeah, I know, that was a strange contradiction, it seemed like to me.
I mean, like I said, I definitely understand where he's coming from. I do get that, but like this is a perfect example of you are close, but you're not you're you're missing the point. You're missing the point. Um, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people, more people who are probably willing to admit are at this spot where they believe in a God, but they're not for sure if it's Jesus Christ or they believe in a spiritual being who's out there, but he or she, they would call it, or she or they or whatever. They would say that it, he doesn't really care. He already kind of set the chess pieces up, and we play the game.
Right.
And it's really sad. It really is sad because it truly breaks my heart too. Because it's just like you have no idea what you're missing out on. Like you have no idea. It just really breaks my heart. Um, yeah, yeah. That was an interesting video though, because normally, truthfully, I haven't seen any of the stuff that he's in. I didn't really know who he was.
I'm
But
not I'm not really surprised. He was definitely, I think, more of like the. I think if you were born like early '90s, I think you definitely would have been more exposed to some of his stuff. Like I said, I never even saw. I think his biggest thing was Dawson's Creek, and I've never seen it. I knew that he was in it. I was aware of who he was because I did see him in. Like I said, I know Varsity Blues. I watched, which is a football movie. There's some other stuff I know I've seen him in, but I can't think of it. But he's just kind of one of those actors that like I know I've seen him in stuff, but I can't like place it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, it actually, I think it got a lot of attention because he was this big name Hollywood actor,
Mhm.
and he ended up. Someone did a GoFundMe for his family after he passed away because the cost of his cancer treatments and stuff like that like zapped their finances. Even with him being in Hollywood as an actor, and so that's kind of why it gained traction. Wasn't really so much about the religious side of things. It was more of the medical, like insurance type political views is really what
yeah,
got the attention there. But